Sam Mestis, and today we're going to do something. Kind of fun. I don't know if I saw this as a tutorial or I saw a picture of it. I can't even remember where this came from, but it's something we do in my beginners class, Photoshop for beginners. So we're going to do something. We're going to do a little ad today, and everything's going to be inspired by this Corona beer bottle. All the colors we use are going to be come right off this Corona beer bottle. So let's get started. We're going to do a new document. So go up to File, New, and we are going to start with a 17 by 11 inch high document at 100. We'll just use 100. That seems like a good number. So 17 inches wide, 100 inches high, or 17 inches wide, 11 inches high, 100 dpi resolution. And I'm going to create my document. And I have a black document here. And we're going to keep that Corona bottle nearby because we're going to be using that. All right, so on my document here, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sort of a little romantic image here, some water and some island and a lot of whoosh whoosh. So first we're going to start with our marquee tool. So right at the beginning, we're going to need to make some water, a little ocean. And I'm going to use the square marquee tool. It's the second one down, and if you hold down, you can find your square. And I'm going to pick about not quite the bottom third, but close to the bottom third of this image. That may actually be just a bit much. Let me try that again. And that looks good. I forgot to turn on my key visualizer, so let me turn that on real fast. I'm going to turn off those clicks and keystrokes. We're going to keep those there. Now you can be able to see my keystrokes at the bottom. Okay, so here we go. We have our bottom selected, and we're going to pick some colors off of this lime right here to help us out. We're going to use the gradient tool. So come down here to the gradient tool in the middle. All right. In fact, before we do that, let's just pick our colors off of this first. Let's just set our foreground and background color. So I'm going to click my foreground color here, and I am going to pick a very sort of, I'm going to pick some here in the rind of the lime. I want it sort of dark, sort of light, but not too bad. Okay, my background color, I'm going to select my black there, and I'm going to pick something darker, closer probably down here, towards what's in this glass here. And that's still a little bit too light. I'm going to bring it down so it's nearly, not quite black, but it's close. All right, so those are the colors we're going to use. Let me shrink that down a little bit again so it's not so bothersome. In fact, I'm going to minimize that. All right, so with our gradient tool selected, we have our gradient colors. And I'm going to go hold down my shift key, and I'm going to pull straight down. And I'm going to get something close to that. That green might be just a little bit hot. Let me bring it down just a little bit more. It'll be a little bit darker. Let's try it again. That's not too bad. Let's see if I get a little bit more bottom out of it. There we go. That looks pretty good. Not too bad. All right, so there's my water. And I know it doesn't look like water yet, but one thing I forgot to do, though, was put this on a brand new layer. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it water. Boy, I'm really sort of screwing this up. There we go. So water, new layer. Now we're going to do our gradient. And maybe a little bit higher. There we go. We're going to use that. That looks pretty good. All right, new layer under that water called sky. I'm going to make sure it's underneath my water layer. And I'm going to name it sky. We're going to bring our beer bottle back because I need some more colors off this lime. And I'm going to change my foreground color to maybe something in the sort of meat of this this lime. And the top I'm going to keep probably, again, probably closer to something over here maybe. Let's see how that works. I'm going to minimize that. And again with a gradient tool, this time I'm going to go up from behind. And I'm not really a fan at all of that color. Let's go back to something a little bit lighter. Let's try. Yeah. Where's my lime? Let's go back and pick another color for my lime. For my, maybe right here. I'm not liking that too much either. I'm not seeing anything I really like here. Let me find something I can hang with. Let's try this. That's not too bad. Let's use that. That works perfect. Awesome. All right, so I'm done with my line for now. I'm going to keep that over there. Okay, so now we have our sky, our background sky, and we have our water, even though it doesn't really look like water. And our inspiration is this lime, which is going to work out for us. Everything's going to be sort of a green tinted element. All right, so with that selected now, we need something to backlight this whole thing. Everything's going to be black, so it's got to be backlit. So we need a backlight source. I'm going to put a new layer on here and call it sunset, or sun if you want. And reset my colors to D. If you hit your D key, it'll reset your colors. And if you hit X, it'll alternate those colors for you. You can see that over here on the left. And I'm going to use white as my foreground color. And with my brush, my 8 Suns brush, I am going to use this guy right here in solid white. And I want it to be a little big because I want it to spill over into the ocean. So I'm going to put it about right there. It's a nice little sunset. That's not looking too bad. It's a nice little brush you can download. I think I got it from Brush Easy. It's called 8 Suns. And they're really cool. I use them all the time. They're fun little brushes. All right, so we have our sky, we have our ocean, we have our sun. We need an island. We need a nice little island. So I'm going to create a brand new layer again and call it island. And return on that. And I am going to use now, black is my foreground color, so I'm going to hit X. Make sure black is my foreground color. And the third tool down, the polygonal lasso tool is going to be the one we use to make this island, and we're just going to freehand this island in. So I'm going to start kind of over here on the left, you can see. All right, that was kind of weird. I've never seen that before. Anyway, so I'm going to start right about here and just click right about on the water line. All right, and holding down my Shift key, I'm going to drag completely across to the other side of my document and click. All right, now I'm going to let go of my Shift key, and I'm just going to freehand in. I'm just randomly clicking. I'm just sort of making myself a little bit of tropical getaway. And I will close that loop, and I have a selection set. And I am going to fill that selection set with black. A couple ways you can do this. You can go to Edit, Fill. You can fill with black. You can fill with the foreground color, which happens to be black right now. Or you can do what I do, since black is my foreground color. If you hit the Option Delete key, it'll fill it out. You can see it right there at the bottom of the screen. All right. Now I have, either way will get you there. It's all the same thing. It gets you the exact same thing. So I'm going to deselect, Command D. And now I have my nice little island, my nice little sunset, ocean, water, the whole deal. What is next for this thing? Let's make some stars. I want it to be sort of sunset. Stars are coming out. So right above the sky layer, let's put a brand new layer, and we're going to call this stars. And I'm going to return on that. And we need to use a filter for this. But in order to use a filter, you can't put a filter on a blank layer. You have to have something on that layer. So in this case, I'm just going to fill it with 50% gray. It doesn't really matter what you fill it with because we're going to cover it up anyway. So I'm going to hold down Shift Delete again. That'll get my fill display. Again, if you want it somewhere else, it's right there on your Edit Fill. Same thing. So I'm going to use Shift Delete, and I'm going to do it with 50% gray at 100%, and I'm going to hit Fill. There you go. Now my sky is filled with gray. But don't worry, we're going to fix that. Let's put some stars in. And to make stars, you need the noise filter. So let's go to noise. If you go up to the filter menu here, hit noise, add noise, and we're going to add 100% noise. It's got to be Gaussian. It has to be monochromatic. All right, 100 Gaussian monochromatic, and I'm going to click OK. So now we have all these white and black dots. Next thing we have to do is, for some reason, we have to blur it. And we're going to blur it by 1 pixel. So if we go to filters and hit blur and hit this one blur command, it's a 1 pixel blur, and blur it a little bit. Awesome. Next thing we got to do is change the blend mode because we need to just see the white. We don't want to see the black that's in there. And to do that, we change our blend mode for that layer to screen. You guessed it. There we go. Now that's a lot of stars. We don't need that many. So we just need to level out some of these stars. And even though the blacks aren't, we're not seeing the blacks, they're still there and we can still adjust them. So Command Levels. Let's bring up our levels deal. And if you need to get it, you can do Image Adjustments Levels. It's right there too. I'm going to hit Command L. And you can see our histogram is pretty crazy. But what we need to do is push the blacks. Even though we're not seeing blacks, we can still edit them. And in this case, I'm going to grab the black slider and slide it over. And the more I slide it over, it starts to thin out my star field a bit. And it gives me a nice field of stars. I have it set at 230, my black right there. And you can see it looks pretty cool. All right, so let's click OK. And there's our star field. Not too bad. All right, what else do we need? We need some sort of foreground elements. At the top of the layer, let's put trees. T-R-E-E. Ugh. Let's try that again. T-R-E-E-S. There we go. I'm going to name that layer trees. And I'm going to go to my brushes. I just hit B for brushes, or you can catch it right there. It's the first one. I'm going to go to the brush tool. And I am going to look for some trees. I have a lot of trees by default installed here. So I want to find a tree that's going to work for me. Ooh, I like that one. I'm going to do one lowly tree right here. I'm going to make it kind of big, right about there. That's not bad. Let's grab one more small tree and see what else we can do there. How about this guy right here? And that's a little big. Let's make him a little bit smaller. Not that small. That tree's kind of ugly, but we'll keep it. What the heck? All right, so we got a couple trees there, and I might just scale these up just a little bit, just so they're not so bony looking. All right. What else do we need? We need some people. You know what? Those trees are horrible. I hate those trees. Let's try another tree. I'm not that excited about that. Maybe something with a little bit more meat on it. Yeah, we'll try those. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just going to erase this part. I don't need that part. There we go. Let's try that. Scale it up just a little bit. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to move him over just a tad. Just going to slide him over with my move tool. Great. We need a couple. We need a romantic couple. I just happen to have one that looks a lot like, let me find it, romantic silhouettes. I have these romantic silhouettes. And the one I want to use is this one right here. But I don't need all the crap around it. I just need the black. So I'm going to use my magic wand tool. I just hit W for that. And I'm going to have it select the black. Now, here's the luxury of this. I don't need to put it on a new layer or anything like that. I can actually just steal that element right off the document. I'm going to go to my move tool, V, grab that guy right there. And just make sure I'm grabbing him from the inside. You can see it switches to scissors when I grab it. It means I'm going to cut it out and drag it. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key at the same time. And from inside, I'm going to drag them to my document. And there they are. Back to my move tool, V. And they're a little large proportionally. That tree they're almost dwarfing that tree. So I'm just going to shrink them down just a little bit. And I kind of want them in the middle of the sun there, the sunset. Like that. Now if you zoom in on it, you can see they have some white fringing around them a bit. We can fix that. I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to change this layer name to couple because they're a romantic couple. I'm going to lock the transparency on this layer, so highlight the layer and click this guy right here. And that will only allow me to paint inside of those pixels that are already there. And I'm just going to fill it with black. And it's all gone. I hit Option Delete for that because black is my foreground color. You could also use fill with black, either way, or foreground color, either or. But anyway, you can see the fringing is now gone. All right, what else do we need? We need some clouds. So right above the sky, right there, and actually in front of the stars too, we're going to put a new layer there and call it clouds. Perfect. I'm going to close this. I don't need that anymore. And we're going to make some clouds. And to do that, we need to use the render clouds filter. Now this one for some reason does let you put it on a blank layer. So I'm going to go up to Filter, Render Clouds. And I get that nice little deal. Now I only need to see the white of the clouds. I don't need to see the black. So I'm going to set that layers blend mode to screen. Screen will give us the whites. And it's a little heavy, but we can fix that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to free transform these clouds and just stretch them out. So Command T gets you into free transform. You can see that at the bottom. And if I hold down my Shift and Alt keys, I can drag out to the side and stretch these out a little bit. Now they kind of look a little bit more like clouds. And I'm going to return. They're still a little heavy, so a fun little trick I do a lot is sometimes I use clouds to neutralize elements, and in this case I'm going to do it. I'm going to neutralize clouds with clouds. So I'm going to click the clouds layer and put a layer mask on it. That's the third icon right there on the layer. Add layer mask. And on that cloud layer, make sure it's selected, the mask layer. I'm going to go up to filter, and I'm going to use our last command, which was clouds. And there you go. It'll help neutralize that out a little bit. I'm going to turn the opacity down just a little bit. It's still a little heavy. Maybe down to, say, 65. That's not too bad. And you can see that adds a little volume to our image. Gives it a little bit of makes it look a little bit more natural. All right, so we got clouds. That's not too bad. What else do we need to do? One of the last things we need to do, really, as we're getting to the end here, is we need to put some grass on this island. It looks a little jagged and rocky. And the way we're going to do that is, just zoomed up a little bit, I'm going to start a new layer right above the grass, or right above the island there, and I'm just going to call it grass. And we're going to use the brush engine to help us paint some grass. Real easy introduction into brush engine. First thing I got to do is find my grass brush. If you go to the brush tool, it's third row down. It's the single blade of grass. And if I paint with it, you can see what it looks like. Whoops, went too far, didn't I? So you can see it looks like a blade of grass. But we need to do some adjusting. It's got some weird settings on it. So I'm going to go to the brush engine tool, and it's this little icon here. It looks like a coffee can full of brushes. And if you click on that, we are allowed with this engine to do a lot of great things with brushes. Now we're just going to touch on a few things here, not everything. And you could see everything the brush is going to do right here. It's right in the display. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to turn off color dynamics. If you notice, they're coming in gray and black, and that's because the color dynamics is on. It's building me colors between gray and white, and I really don't want that. I'm not that interested in that. So I'm going to turn off color dynamics. Turn it off. I am going to turn on scatter shape dynamics real quick, and I'm going to crank size jitter to 100. And angle jitter I'm going to put about 9, I think. Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to turn off direction. That's why it's looking so wonky. That is weird. Why is it going so crazy there? Let me see what scattering looks like. Count is pretty high. Oh, I know why, because we have Y turned on. There we go. Let's just turn on flip X jitter. That makes the image turn left and right. See, if I didn't have it turned on, all the blades would be going all the blades would be going in the same direction. X and Y turns the blades randomly left and right. So and Y would turn them up and down. And we don't want Y at all. So, all right. We just want X on. All right, so shape dynamics, I'm going to crank to about 100. Angle jitter, I'm going to keep it really low. And what angle is doing is it's tilting the blades of grass left and right. So it makes them look a little bit more natural. If we go to scattering, scattering's barely turned on. It's at 60%. This is really just doing exactly what it says. It's scattering. And my count is set at about 2. Maybe set my count to 3. Let's try 3. That's all you need to do. Leave everything else off. And now that I have that, I'm on my grass layer. I'm going to size my brush down. And I'm going to randomly go through and just start following the lines of my island here and start painting in blades of grass. And I'm going to size my brush up periodically and size it down periodically so they look a little bit more natural. There's some small blades. I'm going to put some really large ones here. And I'm using my bracket keys left and right to resize my grass. You can see at the bottom there what keys I'm using. All right. And maybe up here I'll use a couple big ones or some tall grass over here maybe. Right. tall grass, and as it gets to the end, maybe it gets a little bit tighter and smaller as we're getting down towards the water line. And I'm just going to keep going and infilling. I'm kind of trying to get rid of some of this, the hard line you see from the island there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going through and adding grass until it starts to fill out a little bit. Throw in some really tall ones there. That'll help give it some volume. Those might be a little bit too tall, but we'll keep them for now. And let's not do that. Okay, got a little bit too carried away there. Take off a couple of those. All right, that's the one I want. All right, so I'm just going to keep going through and adding blades of grass. And you can see it's really starting to take shape here. Let's add a couple of jumbo ones here. We need to get some height out of this place over here. There we go. Let's try that. All right, so there you go. There's my grass. And that's looking pretty cool. Believe it or not, we are almost done. Last thing we got to do is create a reflection. This island needs to reflect onto the water with the tree, with the people. So I am actually going to turn off a few things. I'm going to turn off all the background elements. I'm going to turn off the sun. And I just want these 4 layers on. The couples, the trees, the grass, and the island. All right. I'm going to select all of those. I'm going to shift-click couples all the way down to island, and that will select all 4 of them. And then I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and don't let go of your Alt key till this whole operation is done. Hold my Alt key down, and I am going to click this little menu up here while holding my Alt key down, and I am going to merge the visible layers. That's why I turned all the other ones off. I just want to merge the ones that are visible. So holding my Alt key, I'm going to click that, and what it has done is it has copied all of those elements and put them all on one single layer. All on one layer. Here's my other 4 elements. They're still intact. They're still separate. But now, in fact, I'm going to group those. I'm going to group those 4 elements. Command G to just put them in one group. And now here's the one, this new one. I'm going to call it Reflection. And I am going to hit Command T on this reflection because I want to free transform it. And with inside this free transform, I'm going to right click and hit vertical. And it will flip it vertically. And I will then drag it down. Now, I'm just going to nudge it with my arrow keys. I want one little thin line between the reflection and my original island. All right. Oops, let's nudge it again. There it goes. Perfect. Let me turn everything on. There you go. There's a reflection of my island now. Not too bad. One thing we should do with the island, though, is we should blur it a little bit. Let's just do a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I think 3 pixels looks pretty good. Let's do 3 pixels. Excellent. Click and save. All right, we are nearly done here. One final thing we get to do, and this is the fun part really, on the reflection layer, is we're going to smudge some ripples into this image. So we're going to do it on this image right here, that layer, the reflection. And we're going to go to our smudge tool. It's almost in the middle. It's right under the gradient tool. Right there. And we're looking for smudge. It'll be at the bottom. If you don't see it, just hold down your mouse and click till you see the smudge tool. It's at the very bottom there. And with that smudge tool, I have it at strength. I'm going to set my strength to 50. There we go. And I got about a 45 size brush, somewhere around there. Ooh, that might be a little bit too big. All right. Oops. Let me go back to my smudge tool. All right. And I'm going to make sure I have a soft edge brush for this, by the way. I'm going to do a soft edge. All right. So it gets, there we go. Nice soft edge brush. And you can see if you just slide it across, click and drag, you can sort of make these nice little water ripples, right? Size down a little bit maybe, and get this tree to ripple a little bit, and the grass to ripple, maybe, right? Get all this stuff happening here, and get this nice little island thing looking like it's reflecting in the water. Not too bad. The reason I kept the gap there is so you had sort of a water line between the island, and although technically you probably wouldn't see it, but it's a nice, it helps. define that edge a little bit. All right, so there we go. One last thing, we need our beer bottle for our little ad. So I'm going to grab my beer bottle here, and it's got white around it. I need to get rid of that white, so I'm just going to actually use the magic wand tool and select the white. But I don't want the white, I want the bottle, so I have to invert the selection. And you can go up to select, inverse, or you can hit Command Shift I, which is what I'm going to do. And now my beer bottle is selected. And I'm going to Command J this and put it on its own layer, just because we need practice. Command J puts it on its own layer. There it is. And with my move tool, V, I'm going to grab that layer and drag it across, holding my Shift key. And that's a pretty clean takeaway for that. And free transform, Command T, to because I need to size it down. And even though I can't see the handles on the outside, I can get to them by hitting Command 0, will zoom extents. And holding down my Shift and Option key, I'm going to just squeeze this down, and I'm going to put it like right about here. No, I'm going to put it right about here on the left. That's not too bad. All right, it's pretty good. There's our Corona bottle. It looks a little weird out of place because it's got a hard edge and it's not doing much. Let's put a little glow behind it and finish this off. A little glow, double click that layer, and we're going to put an outer glow on it. And I'm actually going to I'm going to sample a color from the lime. I'm actually going to sample sort of the meat here, the body of the lime, and see what I come up with. Maybe that. Let's see, and we're going to hit screen for blend mode because we want to see it. Oh, that's already pretty nice. It's pretty subtle. You can see it though. Maybe turn up my opacity to say 30, maybe 25. Nice and subtle. I got my opacity at 25, my spread's at 6, and my size is at 40. So that's not too bad. It jumps out a little bit and helps take the edge off of it just a little and gives it a little bit of backlighting. And I'm going to hit OK. I believe, oh, one more thing. Let's add one more cool thing. Right above the reflection there, let's add a brand new layer, and let's call it Birds, B-I-R-D-S. And on that birds layer, we're literally going to paint some birds. I have a paintbrush I gave you. So let's go to the brush tool, and let's just find some birds that'll work. We're going to paint them in black. That's already awesome. Oh, that's because my brush engine's turned on. Let me turn off that garbage. Whoa, that's too big. I'm going to size this down just a bit. There you go. There's some birds. Not too bad, right? Okay, looking pretty good. I may try something else. You may not. I didn't do this in class. I'm going to add one more layer and go to gradient and do a small black to transparent gradient. It's the second one. And I might just come off the top here a little bit and darken this. It might be too much. Let me back it off. Just give it a little bit of edge. That's not too bad. That'll work. Now it kind of sandwiches the top and the bottom. Turn it off just a little bit more. Let me see if I like it. That's not too bad. We'll keep it. But anyway, there you go. There's our Corona ad. It looks pretty slick. Let me close that. Let me go to presentation mode. And there you go. There's your Corona ad. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Good luck making this thing. And I will talk to you later. Have a good day.